Monday morning, September 28th, 2020. And I'm still getting ready for the day, deciding that probably it's just going to remain just like this in my PJs. But I really felt compelled this morning to kind of sit down and look at October energy. I haven't done this for a few months in terms of looking at collective energy and then sharing it with you guys. But I really feel like the information right now is absolutely critical and important, and I don't want to withhold it and just kind of sit with it in my own space, which is normally what I'm doing. But I wanted to put it out here for you all to hear and see. So no shocker to anybody, but here we are at the end of September. We are about 15 years into 2020, or at least it feels like that. I kind of feel like right now, each week feels roughly like a month. It's really hard to get any sense of orientation on when things happened in any kind of recent, or what we would consider recent history. And by that, I mean within a month. It's just really hard to tell. I mean, right? So, you know, we're looking around. Most of us have understood that specifically for the last month or so, we have been in a state of deconstruction, which honestly, all of 2020 is really about deconstruction and death cycle. That's why we're seeing the things that we see playing out across the global stage, particularly in the United States. We're seeing an incredible amount of things come to light that are not pleasant, they're not fun, they're not enjoyable. And just a lot of things that have been there for a long time but are just now being very visible. And with that, the last few weeks of just full-on death cycles, death cycle after death cycle. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, is you think about it, everything happens within a spiral of time. And so when we start to experience something, or we are addressing a particular issue or a trauma in our life, and we think we're working on it during the spiral, it comes back around and we hit another layer of it. And then it comes back around, right? Until we've actually fully addressed and taken care of rooting out those specific issues. And so death cycles look like lots of things. I have felt both deconstruction and things being put back together in new ways to where I'm unfamiliar with myself at times, and just full-on actual death cycles. And by the death cycle, I feel like that's a lot just purging. It's just getting rid of and releasing and purging all of these things. And so a lot of that's been going on. This is not a surprise. So when I wanted to sit down and kind of look at what's going on in October at a global collective scale, the information that started coming to me was very much that it is at a collective opportunity is the energy that is available to us. So normally what happens is I'm kind of getting like different messages of what we should be doing or not be doing. And the way they presented the information to me today was very much that this is a month of choice. This is super exciting. But it's also really pivotal to understand that your choices and every choice you make during the energy that's within October, which really kind of really starts like right now. Okay, we're already in the middle of it. 1st of October technically is Wednesday, but the energy itself has already started. And it's all about choice. And so what they presented is you have it as available to you. What you choose to do with the energy is going to help really create the reality that you're stepping into, the one that you're experiencing in the moment and the one that you're stepping into that's coming. And so in the month of choice, all of those decisions and choices are going to be very, very critical to developing that, right? So the energy that we have available to us is a really, really big amount of universal consciousness energy. So we're talking about so much light codes and so much activation coming in that you have access to more universal consciousness than you ever have before. So we're really talking about big opportunities for expansion, big opportunities for awareness, big opportunities to really tap into that universal consciousness and access the information that you need in ways that have previously not yet been available. So this is going to continue to happen for the rest of the year, but like looking at October is really this pivotal moment of when this veil gets thinner, when the expansion and the awareness is more. We also have access to huge manifestation energy right now. And partly, so there's two ways that you can look at that, right? The manifestation energy is creation energy, okay? So it's helping you create the reality that you're experiencing. So with these death cycles, which is all happening internal, you have to go internal, you have all of this internal death cycle happening. And the death cycles that happen internally are also expressing themselves externally. So you're also seeing deaths happen around you externally. What do we mean by that? That could be things like relationships shifting and changing and some falling away or evolving into a different pattern. A lot of it may look like shedding. It's shedding all the things that are unnecessary, that distract away from your focus, that cause confusion. It can be all sorts of things, right? So you just have to sort out and sense in what that is for yourself. You also have the availability to you to choose to fully be yourself or choose to remain false. Remaining false is just not being yourself. It's being something else. But your choice is there now to choose. Are you fully going to be yourself? Are you fully going to stand in your own power? Standing in your own power is very much that energy that's present right now too. Some of us that started experiencing October energy a couple of weeks ago have been experiencing this, moving into more of a rebirth phase already. And some of that has been about fully taking ownership for self, creating your reality. That is that standing in your own power that's really, really important. And so that's definitely already started to come in. And the other thing that they said is, like, in order to manifest the reality that you want, you have to become playful and childlike. So spend time in rest, spend time being playful, spend time doing things as you would as a child. And a lot of that is, it's not so much about going and sitting and doing a game or playing like you did as a child. It's the energy of that childlike wonder, the belief in bigger things, the belief that magic is possible, the belief that everything is possible. That belief in that energy, that's that childlike energy that allows us to do the big work. It allows us to actually manifest and create the realities that we want to be in. And that's really, really important right now. I personally felt a big timeline shift happened for me. It started happening early to middle of last week, and but it really kind of locked in place yesterday. And so with that timelines are shifting constantly. There's so many available to us right now, and you get to choose which one you want to be on. So the fact that it's shuffling and sorting, like, don't get anchored into any one thing, but think about your choices. The whole message for October is thinking about your choice that you have available to you. Who do you want to be? Are you going to fully be your own self? Are you fully going to stand in your own power? Are you going to manifest and create this reality of a better world? Or are you going to sit around and bitch and complain about what's wrong with it? We all know what's wrong with it, okay? No matter what your perspective is and what your experience is, we all know that it is gross and there's so much going on. But we absolutely cannot focus on that in the next couple of months. We cannot. We have to be able to understand that this is what's being shown to us. This is what is shedding. This is part of a death cycle. What we have to anchor ourselves into is that higher feeling of what is coming, what can be better. How do we even want that world to look like? So spend more time investing in that, not looking at media, not following the news, not staying engaged with it, but instead choosing to see that perfect world that we would all like to be a part of. I use the word perfect with a lot of air quotes because there's no such thing as perfect. And we are in a process of evolving into a better society, but it has to start with this death cycle. The death cycle you see right now that is playing out, which is going to amplify and get even more gross, is the only word I've got today, is going to amplify over the next couple of months. And so with that, we have just got to be mindful that it has to play out. Things have to fester. They have to break open. They have to ooze a bit. They have to be gross in order for it to die, to shed, and for us to decide that we want something better. So if you're still sitting here thinking about what political camp you want to be in, or what things look like, or who said what, and what's wrong with this group, and what might be wrong with that group, and who knows and who doesn't know. If you're still looking externally, friends, you're doing it wrong, because it's not external. This is all an internal job. All of it's an internal job. So what that looks like for you, how you process it, what your death cycles are, how you're moving through it, it's all an internal job, which will then express itself externally and begin to shift and create the reality around you. But the fact that we have this much magical energy available to us in October, and it's all up to us to choose how we're going to use it, is really the core message for October. So it's super exciting. Interested to see what you guys come up with and how that plays out for you. I know for me that I have several things planned in the month of October that I planned before I even knew what was coming around in October, and really wanted to kind of dig in, and it's all perfectly aligned. All of the things that I have planned for the month of October totally fall into the space of childlike energy, playfulness, nourishment of myself, choosing myself, being in my own power, exploring and creating magical things, and really giving birth to an entirely new reality. Just remember, it looks a little different for every person. Don't give everybody a hard time. Just focus on yourself, focus on yourself, focus on yourself. Make your choices, do your work. Also with doing your work, I do want to bring this up. When you're doing your work now, and this really is, again, it goes back to choice. The choice that they were saying is like, you have awareness that you're in a death cycle. You have awareness that things are going to come up and they're not going to feel good. And you have to sit with them, and then you have to honor them. You need to have a conversation with the thing, figure out what it's teaching you, what you need to understand about it, and then release it. There's a process that we go through in doing our work and doing it appropriately for it to be sustainable, for it to be true. The thing is with that choice, you can choose, because you have awareness, you can choose how long you're going to spend in the death cycle. So we have to have deaths. I feel like I've had, I don't know, at least 1,000 of them in 2 weeks. At least it feels like that. I've processed a great amount of information internally and across generational patterns. And the fact is, it's up to me to figure out how to do it. I'm aware I'm in a death cycle. I was aware that things were going to come up. I knew what the process was to sit with it and work with it. But it's up to me to choose how long I want to sit with it. I can look at it now and I can do the work and I can release it. We all have an option to do that in this particular energetic space. The thing that you need to be mindful of is knowing when to kill the pattern of the old narrative. And so now is the time to kill the patterns of old narratives. It also is in a death cycle, all of these narratives. So if you have this thing in you that says, well, I normally process information this way, then it might take me about a week or 2 weeks to kind of sit with the information, to process it, to release it, to feel like I've rested from it, which was nothing wrong with that. We all had our own ways of doing that. But we're not in that energetic space anymore, and you're not that person anymore. Because if you've been going through deaths in 2020, you're not the same person you were yesterday, which is true at any point in time. But specifically now, in this death cycle energy, you're not that person. So change your narratives that you're telling yourself. If you don't want to sit in it and it to be that ungodly painful, then use the awareness and the healing energy you have available to you to process it out quickly, to do the work, to process it, to heal it, to put light back in there, and to soothe it. It's the only thing that we even need to worry about anymore, is choosing ourselves in that and choosing the joy that comes with it. Because there's no need to sit in more of the death energy. If you keep sitting in death energy while it's happening, knowing more is coming, how are you going to get out of that and create not death energy, right? Allow it to happen, participate, work with it, partner with it, collaborate with it, and let it go, heal it, and move on. Those of you that already have all of your guides with you that are more aware, more consciously aware, you know that you're working with other energies and higher dimensional, multidimensional energies and beings. Use them. They are here to help, but you have to ask for help to work through something and to heal something. So if you're unsure what that means, you can message me, you can leave comments. There are other people to reach out to that are trusted sources to ask what this all means. But essentially stop sitting in it because you're creating more of it. It's harder to get out of. Do your work, release it, put more light back into it, and then get on to the next death cycle so that we can get out of this death cycle and you can start to step into your rebirth. When you come into your full power and you accept what that is for you and full loving yourself exactly as you are, it all starts with the self-love. Do the internal work. When you get there, everything is possible. And that's where that full creation magic comes into play. and you start putting your reality in the way that you want to experience. So without limitations, no limitations, full on abundant flow of all things, no more limitations. And be mindful, abundance can be many things. Abundance is not just financial abundance. It's all kinds of energetic flow. It's love, it's relationships, it's family, it's friends, it's good food, it's good nourishment. All of these things that are available and accessible to us start here. And if you think any of it has to do with circumstance externally, then you're going to stay in that energetic space and you're not moving out of it for a long time. It is all an internal job. And remember, October is a month of choice. Thanks, guys.